A Memory of Light is the 14th and final book of the fantasy series The Wheel of Time, written by American authors Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson, and published by Tor Books. Originally expected to have been published around March 2012, the book was delayed several times, and the hardcover edition was eventually released on January 8, 2013. The e-book was not released until April 8, 2013. The book reached number 1 on several bestsellers lists. Original plans for the book title. The title A Memory of Light was previously intended to apply to a book containing the material in what are now books 12, 13 and 14. The original book was incomplete at the time of Jordan's death on September 16, 2007, from cardiac amyloidosis. His widow Harriet McDougall and publisher Tom Doherty chose to publish the book posthumously. Tor Books announced that Brandon Sanderson had been chosen to finish writing the book. The unfinished book was split into 3 volumes because it was believed a single volume would be too large to print. Initially it was planned that all 3 would be titled A Memory of Light, with distinct subtitles. Eventually this plan was dropped, and the 3 volumes were titled The Gathering Storm, Towers of Midnight, and A Memory of Light. Plot summary. In the prologue, the armies of the Westlands assemble in preparation for Tarmangaddon, as do the forces of the Shadow. The Forsaken Demandred stages a raid on the city of Coemlin, sending Trollocs to capture the cannons, developed jointly by Matrim Cawthon, Queen Elaine Trakand, and the Illuminator Aludra. Tormains de Lovind and the Band of the Red Hand launch their own counterattack and successfully exfiltrate the cannon out of the city, but Coemlin is lost. The light is bolstered by people coming from all over the world to fight, sensing the end of all things, while the Shadow welcomes a new Forsaken, Mazrim-Taim, now called Mhail. The Field of Merilla Ran Alith prepares a meeting of all the nations on the Field of Merilla, to persuade them to fight in Tarmangaddon. Mat returns to Badat to locate Tuon, only to find the city crawling with assassins sent by one of her generals. At the Black Tower, Logain Abla is missing and Mazrim-Taim is forcibly turning people to the Shadow. The Ashaiman still loyal to Logain, led by Andral Genhard and Isti ambassador Pavara Tarzanevni, stage a rescue. Rand's price of a treaty called the Dragon's Peace, in which borders are fixed and war is outlawed and his plan to shatter the remaining seals of the Dark One's prison, led to widespread argument. The latter resolved only when Moiraine Damodred quotes from the prophecies of the dragon, and convinces Egwene to break the seals herself. The Aiel, persuaded by Aviendar's post-apocalyptic visions during Towers of Midnight, demand to be subject to the treaty, as arbiters of any dispute. When Elaine Trakand remarks that peace cannot be maintained if the Seanchan are exempt, Rand agrees to persuade their cooperation, and appoints Elaine commander-in-chief of the armies formerly under himself. The war Elaine dispatches her forces to 4 different campaigns, whereof Coemlin is to be retaken by Andoran and Kerhenan troops. Egwene commands an army of Easti to reinforce Kanda, whilst Lan Mandragoran and the resurrected nation of Mulkia hold Tarwin's Gap. Rand himself will lead the Aiel to face the Dark One. The 4 remaining great captains are attached to each campaign: Gareth Bryan in Kanda, Ajel Majagad at Tarwin's Gap, Rodel Ituralda to Sheol, and Dadvan Bashir to serve Elaine directly. The campaigns turn to disaster when Graendal, now renamed Hesalam, prompts the commanders to end. Rand gains the support of the Seanchan by persuading Tuon and Badad that his authority, as the reincarnation of Luztharan, supersedes hers. The Seanchan march to battle with Mat as one of their generals. Taking only Moiraine, 9 of Almiara, and the Saengriel Calendar, Rand confronts the Dark One's champion, Moradin. Interrupted only when Rand makes contact with the Dark One. Meanwhile, Perenabra enters Teleranna to protect Rand from Slayer. In this he is assisted by Lanfear, but wounded by Slayer and forced to retreat. Rand and Egwene learn that enemy agents have seized some of the Dark One's seals. Elaine's forces burn Coemlin to force the Trollocs to pursue. But they are pursued also by a new force from the north, and saved by Logain and his loyal Ashaiman. At Tarwin's Gap, the defenders are forced into rout. While in Kanda, Egwene and the Ystie are unexpectedly outflanked by the nation of Shera, under Demandred. Realizing that Mat's Fogue's head medallion makes him the only competent general immune to hostile compulsion, Egwene gives him command of their forces, and Mat rallies the survivors at the field of Merilla. The last battle. To lure Demandred into risking his resources, Mat stages a public quarrel with Chuan, and the Seanchan depart the field. Perrin continues pursuit of Slayer. At Sheol, Graendal opposes the Ail. When Demandred challenges the absent Rand, Gorn Trakand attacks him directly and is mortally wounded. Later, his elder half-brother Galad Damodred is severely wounded in the same effort, but wounds Demandred before retreat. Mat's command post is attacked directly by Sheran forces, and Siwan Sank is killed in the defense. Gareth Bryn loses reason and dies soon after. Elaine is waylaid by several Darkvrian guardsmen, who arrange a duplicate of Elaine to be seen dead. Fael's contingent arrive at Merilla, but are almost immediately betrayed. Fael seizes the Horn of Valor, which he gives to Ulva. Andral and Pavara track down Mhail and steal the remaining seals on the Dark One's prison. Egwene asks Lyle Winshiplis to be her warder and attacks Mhail. Mhail uses balefire to destroy a number of Ystie. In the midst of her fight with Mhail, Egwene activates a flame of Tar Valon, capable of counteracting balefire, and sacrifices her own life to destroy Mhail and his followers. Galad passes to Lan Mat's Fogue's head medallion, and Lan kills Demandred in single combat. Ulva sounds the Horn of Valor, summoning legendary heroes to rescue Elaine. Mat uses the heroes and reinforcements from the Seanchan to sweep the field. Sheol. Outside the pattern, Shaitan and Rand duel by constructing their visions of what reality could be after Tarmangadan, and ultimately achieve stalemate on the premise that the pattern is incomplete in case of either's defeat. Perrin kills Slayer at the Pit of Doom, and later kills Lanfear. Mat kills Pardan Fain with his own dagger. Ulva and the resurrected heroes win the battle, while Aviendar mentally enslaves Graendal. Rand resumes his duel with Moradin, during which Rand, Moiraine, and Nynaeve take control of Moradin and use his power to create a huge weave of Saidar, Saidin, and true power combined. Seeing this, Logain breaks open the Dark One's prison, and Rand uses the huge weave of three powers, first to capture the Dark One, and later to recreate his prison without flaw. Epilogue. Bereft of the Dark One's influence, the blight dissolves. Mat reunites with Chuan, who reveals that she is pregnant by him. Whereas Perrin locates Fael buried under Trolloc corpses, but alive, and inherits the throne of Saldae. Said Zuan Maladrin is elected the new Amarlin seat, while Moghedien is captured by Isuldum. Viom and Moiraine, Lan and Nynaeve, wait attendance on Rand, who is slowly dying of his wounds. A funeral pyre is held. But it is revealed that Rand had exchanged psyches with Moradin, and is therefore alive. No longer able to channel the One power, Rand now has the ability to manipulate the pattern directly, though it is unclear to what extent. Publication delays. A Memory of Light was originally expected to be published around March 2012. On December 21, 2011, Sanderson announced on Twitter that A Memory of Light the final book in the Wheel of Timir has been finished. That same day, Sanderson also announced on Twitter that revisions would take a good 6 months, and that the book would probably be released in autumn 2012. Tor released the hardcover book on January 8, 2013, although the e-book was not released until April 8, 2013. Criticism over e-book release. There was public backlash against the publisher, Tor, for delaying the electronic release. Backlash included the review bombing of the title on Amazon and other bookseller websites. Brandon Sanderson stated that the decision was that of Robert Jordan's wife, Harriet, who was concerned that the book would not reach the top of the bestseller lists, as all the previous Wheel of Time books have done, if purchases were divided between ebook and hardcover. She felt that this would harm her husband's legacy. Sanderson claimed that she had originally pushed for a 1-year delay. Various end users threatened to download a pirated ebook unless the official ebook was available at launch. Harriet McDougall clarified her reasoning for the late e-book release of A Memory of Light in a March 18, 2013 interview with Tor publisher Tom Doherty. McDougall, the widow of Robert Jordan, explained that the brick-and-mortar bookstores were very good to Robert Jordan throughout his career. They are having a hard time now. This was a chance for Robert Jordan to give back to people who had been very good to him for 20 years. That was really the main reason for the windowing. References